Okay, so yeah, in 1930-ish, I think it was, Police Chief Jobin Jenkins lived in this house. He had in his employ a black woman who may have been sexually abused by him because as a white man, have you heard about the institutionalization of the rape of black women?
Mm-mm.
Okay. It's something that you might want to read up on.
Yeah.
It's basically where a white male white male in power is able to exert that power on someone who is essentially powerless.
Oh, wow.
And so even after slavery ended, I'm sure you're familiar in the South, black women especially were still very much so powerless. They didn't have a lot of agency. So the job that this woman had was cleaning the house, keeping everything straight for him.
Mm-hmm.
And so he used his power, which essentially is just his whiteness, his male whiteness over her, to do whatever he wished with her. Her husband was incarcerated at the time, and he got wind of what was going on. He broke out of jail. He got a cousin or a friend, and they came and confronted Jobin Jenkins. Bullets were exchanged. Jobin Jenkins ended up dead. It was either here or back there.
Mm-hmm.
Very conflicting stories. But he ended up dead. The black man, of course, fled, and a lynch mob went after him. I guess they knew who he was, where they could find him. And really, you can threaten family members to get someone to come out. So that may have been what happened, too. So they got him. He had no real justice. He was lynched. There are some stories that say that he was lynched in the backyard, but that might just be a tall tale. We don't really know. There's another tall tale that Jobin Jenkins would frequently lynch people, and that he may have used trees in the backyard. I don't think any of those trees are still in existence, but we do have some dips in our backyard that are very obviously where trees once stood. Mm-hmm. We also have Jim and Jane Hagler, who live in a house that's a new construction, 2005-ish, maybe, somewhere around that time. And I'm not sure if they may have cut down some trees to build their house. It's possible. I don't know. So it could have been one of those trees because this property extended a lot farther back than it does now. So that could be what happened. I know that, I don't know how you feel about this, but we did have someone come cleanse the house because I was in my office one day. I would show it to you, but it's so I'm not going to show it to you. But so when you're looking at the side of the house, it's I guess we have 2 windows in the living room. It's going to be the next window. So that's my office. So when we were moving in, I was bringing in boxes. It was hot, but not hot enough to turn on the AC. And so it wasn't hot because I didn't even open the windows. That's why this was weird. So I felt a really cold breeze in my office. I thought, that's weird because the fireplace is stopped up. It's a coal fireplace at that. We don't have windows open. We don't have the AC on. So I'm not sure why I'm feeling this. But then as I'm going in and out of the house, I see legs go down the stairs. And I'm like, oh, it's my roommate. And so I call out, oh, Chris. He's not home. And I'm like, okay, all right.
I would have been done.
I'm tired. I just thought, I'm tired, because you can rationalize anything, and so I did. So I was like, I'm just tired. That's all it is. I'm just not going to look at the stairs while I'm bringing stuff in and out of the house. So that's what I did. I just looked at the floor. And then as I was looking at the floor, Chris came into the house. So he was for sure not playing tricks on me or anything like that. So that was kind of fun, but, a little bit scary. Every once in a while, you feel things like that.
Is that the only sighting you've seen or, felt or anything?
Well, I used to have files knocked over in my office. We also have this really weird thing with hat pins in the ceiling. So we moved in April of 2015, and I never noticed anything weird about the dining room. I never noticed anything weird about the little alcove in the house, the area by the bathroom. I never thought to look up at the ceiling, though, so I looked up one day. It was June, so a couple months later, we had a lot of friends over, and I just kind of leaned back, and I was like, oh, there are hat pins in the ceiling. Do you know what hat pins are? So women used to wear hats, and they would use fairly short, sometimes long, but these are shorter hat pins, and they'd have like a teardrop pearl on the other end of them. It was just to keep the hat on their heads. So it was probably like a 1950s, like, well, because hats started getting small in the 30s too. So could have been late 30s to early 60s hat pin, because it's like for the shorter, smaller hats. So it was just to hold them in place. So like maybe 2 or 3 hat pins in the dining room ceiling, and it was just weird, like how do they get there? And a friend of mine from law school hunts ghosts for fun. Just that's what she does to relax. My way to relax, oddly enough, is theater. So I say oddly enough because if you've ever done theater, you know how stressful it is. So she came over, and she used one of those little voice box things, which we could have picked up, you know, like radio signals, who knows. But the voice box was saying, every time we asked, like, who put the hat pins in the ceiling, Chris would be the response that it gave us, and that was the name of our roommate. I thought, that's just really weird. And if there's anything to what the voice box was saying, it really didn't like Chris. And it could have been Joe Ben Jenkins, we're not sure. It could have been someone else. But there was possibly a prankster spirit named Jim. We're not really sure. And he might have been the one knocking off, you know, all the files, knocking them over in my office and doing weird things in there. But they didn't like Chris. We asked if it's because, you know, Chris is gay. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, I'm still kind of, it's fun. It's good for storytelling.
Definitely.
But in terms of, is it really scientific? Not really. It's more on the not really side. So, but it's fun. It really is fun, and it was a great way to spend a January.
Thank you very much for talking with us.
Thank you. So, and there's some other cool historic things about the house. Built in 1887. We have this little plaque from World War I that someone tried to pry off. And this may have been from the Pettit family or related to the Pettit family, but it just says, you know, this is where a soldier's family lives. So
thank you.
That's cool. Things like that.
Really cool.
So some of that stuff that I told you is story stuff, but I know there are a couple local historians who might be good resources too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nice meeting you.
Yeah, nice meeting you. Come by anytime if you have other questions.
Thank you.